Is the new hybrid all-wheel drive Maverick worth over $30,000? We're going to find out in today's video. I'll include a link to the Murdoch Ford and Santa Quinn's website in the description down below. They've got their new storefront, so you definitely should give them a visit. I'll also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a 2.5 liter hybrid 4-cylinder that puts out 191 horsepower. Fuel economy is 40 around town, 34 on the highway. I'm trying to hit 500,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I'd really appreciate it if you'd help out with that. Now, just like the F-150, this has the raised sections on either side of the hood. New style of headlights, which I think looks a lot sharper compared to the previous version. You have a darker coloration for the grille with the new style of Ford logo. Altogether, it definitely has a boxier look. And I'd say this new version of the Maverick styling mixes the kind of retro, futuristic design a lot better than the previous version. Tire wheel setup is 225 by 65 by 17, and you can see we've got the more baseline wheels. Cell badge there on the side, and you can see the mirror caps and the door handles are unpainted. Well, that means more durable. Now, this does have independent suspension front and rear, and it is unibody construction. Because of that, a lot of people would say this is not a real truck. I would say that a better description of this is it's a general utility vehicle, a GUT. That's a weird acronym, but it works. And this leads us to the key fob, where we've got our lock and unlock function. You've got the Ford logo there on the back and the flip out key. Now, popping into the bed, the tailgate is not dampened, so you do have to lower it under your own strength. Now, not a lot happening here in the bed, but throw in some bed liner and it's a bed, right? The tailgate is very light, and then again you got the new style Ford logo there on the back. Very boxy style for the taillights here. I do suppose that's the theme with the Maverick, boxiness. Let's now pop inside. You've got cloth trim there on the armrest area, and then you can see the storage down below. Nice cloth seats inside as well. The legroom's not massive, but I do technically fit. And get out of the way. We've got some USB ports. Headroom in here is good, and then the glass here in the back does not open. I need to remember to do this more often in reviews, but here's a look at the dash from the rear. Let's now pop inside. Cloth trim on the front door panel. You can see all the window controls are next to that. The mirrors are power adjustable, and they have blind spot monitoring. 1435 is the payload capacity, 2,000 pounds is the towing. And you got these cloth front seats here. They are manually adjustable. This does also come with automatic lights, and then you got the control there off to the left-hand side to turn on the cargo light. And let's start it up. Man, I have horrible aim apparently. Ford logo front and center on the steering wheel. You actually have some kind of like softer touch, more basic, but softer touch around it. Practical controls for the center stack, your voice command, phone controls, and then on the left side, volume controls, cruise control as well. Just regular old stocks there on the back. Mostly digital gauge cluster here in the center, which means it's customizable in terms of what you can display information-wise. A little bit of storage above the infotainment system, which is cool. Really good resolution here with the backup camera. And then as for the rest of the infotainment system, you have a shortcut bar at the bottom for the climate controls. Climate controls are built into the screen, but they're always accessible. And then as for the response time on the screen, it's really good. There's plenty of vents throughout the interior, and then you can see physical buttons for different items that you probably can use all the time, like your volume, to change the radio station, defroster as well. You have some USB ports and then a little bit of storage down below that. And yeah, this does come with a dial shifter. Ford's still rocking that for a while, I guess. Cup holders, we got our parking brake behind it, and then stability control. Blue trim on the center console, but good storage. Kind of similar to a Wrangler or a Bronco in terms of the sizing of that. And for those of you that care, we do have a manual mirror dimmer and then a sunglass holder. 2025 XL Hybrid, $31,605. Let's see how this performs. I just realized I made a silly oopsie with my acronym. It should be GOV, not GUT. I don't know even where I got that from, but I will say it's 95 degrees outside and I'm at 5,000 feet above sea level, roughly. The exposure up here is quite ridiculous. Ridiculous. I don't think people like, the funny thing is, people that like just watch these videos on YouTube, they're like, oh man, that looks like the easiest job ever. If it was in California, it would be. And that's why most car journalists, by the way, live in California, because the climate is a lot more temperate. But yeah, here in Utah, like half the time when I'm filming, in the wintertime, it's like 20 degrees windy. So it's like you're dying. And then in the summertime, it's like 90 to 100 plus degrees. And again, you're basically dying. And it's mostly, the temperature's not the worst part. The hardest part is the exposure. Because I'm in the middle of a parking lot with zero shade, surrounded by cars and asphalt. And so it's just like you have all this just heat radiating on you, and it's, yeah. The reason why I know it's really difficult is I almost got a heat stroke the first year I did this full time, and I've had people go out on the parking lot with me to like watch me do the reviews, and then they end up going inside because they almost get a heat stroke themselves. So Not the easiest. But it also means that I sometimes say stupid stuff like gut instead of gov. So yeah, general utility vehicle. I think that's a good acronym for this. Now, the Maverick is a really cool concept, right? Because mid-size pickup trucks like that Ranger and full-size pickup trucks like the F-150, they've gotten pretty pricey. A Ranger now, you know, the least expensive version you're gonna see is like the high 30s. And then the least expensive F-150, kind of like in the 40s. And that's for like base, right? Kind of similar to this. So, quite a bit more. And those trucks do provide more utility in the sense of their body and frame. They got more space and all of that. But if you don't need the space, and if you want better fuel economy, then that's kind of where this comes in. And the fuel economy in this is quite appealing, if you ask me. Because being able to haul stuff in the bed and get almost 40 miles per gallon is really cool. Like if you're like myself and you live a little bit off the beaten path, you use up a lot of fuel, or you drive a lot of miles. Unless you have if you have a hybrid, you don't use up as much fuel. But yeah, I drive a ton. I drive, for this channel, on an average year, I drive about 40,000 miles, sometimes a little bit more per year. Yeah, it's a lot. And so I use up a lot of gas. I didn't check my gas bill last year, but I think it's pretty safe to assume I'm probably spending like $10,000 in gas per year, maybe even more. So the hybrid in this, that's appealing because of the economy. If you get this with the 4K tow package, which you can with the all-wheel drive hybrid, you can tow 4,000 pounds too. So for the average person, are you going to be hauling more than what this has payload-wise? I know the bed's not the biggest on the planet, but it's adequate. And so you look at the payload, you look at the towing, are you going to be towing more than, like this configuration can tow 2,000. If you get the 4K tow package, you can tow 4,000. Most people don't tow more than 4,000 pounds, right? The only time that I really see people towing more than that is if they are like a contractor or something like that, so they have a construction company. Or I also see people towing that much if they got like a boat or a toy hauler, right? Some fancy toy. The average person, right? It's like fancy toys are too expensive. So I think that this makes way more sense for most people because you can daily drive it, get good fuel economy. I mean, like, look at most people. Most people that buy a pickup truck, then they go and end up buying like a Corolla or a Civic to daily drive because their pickup truck gets such bad fuel economy that they have to go buy a commuter car. Whereas this is your pickup truck and your commuter car. And that's why I said general utility vehicle. Gov. So let me guys think about the Maverick hybrid, but I think the concept is amazing. I've said in the past, and I'll say it again, my only critique is I think that Ford got a little bit too greedy on these. This base model, I think that realistically, like, if Ford wanted to just be sold out like indefinitely, this should be like a $25,000 truck, right? So this isn't like insanely overpriced, in my opinion. I think that it's pretty close to what it should be. But yeah, if it was in that 25, 26, maybe even $27,000 price range, Ford, like, these are already selling really well, but they would sell even better than they already are. And if they brought the prices on the higher end packages down in line with this, that would help out as well. So let me know your thoughts.